Genesis chapter 3. Adam and Eve, they eat of the fruit. They sin. They disobey God. But look at the passage right there. He says the eyes of both of them were naked. After they ate, after they disobeyed, it says, and they knew they were naked. All of a sudden, they're aware of their weaknesses. All of a sudden, they're aware of their vulnerabilities. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever felt like that. Someone walks into a room, you're changing. Hey! Hold on, wait! Why do we do that? Why do we cover up? Because we're vulnerable. You can see everything about me. My pimples, my fat, my bones. For some that are too skinny, some that are too big. Some have wrinkles, some have hairs in places, tattoos. Hopefully not tramp stamps, but you have hair in different places. Things that you would feel uncomfortable. Things that you don't want people to see. You're vulnerable. You're weak. You're exposed. They realized at that moment when they did this, they realized that they were exposed. They became aware of their weaknesses. They became aware of their vulnerabilities. And so what do? Instinctively, it says, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. So get the picture, get the connection. God wants to reveal what the glory that He's put in us, but our humanity, our natural instinct is when something goes wrong, either we do something wrong or something wrong has been done to us, we cover up. In psychology, psychiatry, they talk about the natural response for people. They are fight, flight, or freeze. What does that mean? Something happens. A traumatic event happens. We fight. We lash out in anger. We lash out in, well, you did this. Well, da, 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 da. There's a fight instinct. For others, it's the flight. You know what? There's a problem here. I can't handle this. I'm out. Bye. For others, it's freeze. What is that? Don't do anything. Just frozen. Those are the natural instincts. When something bad happens to us or when we do something bad. There was a book that I haven't ordered yet, but I started reading a little bit of it. It's called From Broken Boy to Mended Man by Patrick Morley. He tells of the story. He says that at 53 years of age, his mother died of cancer. He says, but the surprising thing is that when his mother died of cancer, his mother, 53 years of age, he was 53 at the time. He says, I felt, these are his words. He says, I didn't feel anything. I wasn't sad. I didn't cry. There was no emotional response. Nothing. What happened? There's a brokenness in him. He's been covering up so much in his life that when moments where he should be emotional, more moments where he should feel, he doesn't feel anything. He's broken. He's been covering. How does God heal us? How does God restore us from those things? That's what we're going to talk about today. Unveiling, removing those things that have so long been covering us up. So to do that, we're going to start looking at the life of Jacob. So if you can, if we can go to the book of Genesis. We're going to look at several passages, not too many, but just a few of these passages in the book of Genesis. Chapter 25 and verse 23. It reads this way. And the Lord said to her, speaking of Rebekah, 2 nations are in your womb. 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. Now I want you to notice something very important in this passage. I highlighted those words. Nations, peoples, people. What does that tell us about how God sees you and me? What does that tell us? He doesn't just see Arturo. He sees all that comes from Arturo. He sees the generations that come. From Arturo's line now comes another line, 3. And from these 3 lines, there comes more lines and more lines. And what affects Arturo affects all of them and all of the rest and all of the rest from generation to generation. The brokenness that was in Cheryl now is being felt by Sean and by Carol. The brokenness in Sean and in Carol is being transmitted to the brokenness in Senya and Emma and so forth. And their children, if there is no transformation, are going to have the same brokenness and family after family after family. This is important, how God sees you and me. He doesn't just see a person. He sees all of us and all of the people that will be impacted by our lives. Now, I want you to realize the gravity of this. Because a lot of us, when we have problems, when we have issues, we tend to ignore the problems. Go back, sister, a little bit. not ready yet. We tend to ignore the issues. We tend to not not deal with the issues. Yesterday, I went for a run, which terrible idea, right? Paid $40 to go run 3 kilometers or 5 kilometers, and just painful. But I was remembering the last time I did an event running years ago. I had a rock in my shoe. A little rock, no big deal. Kept running. But what happened? I ignored that little rock. I didn't want to take it off. I didn't want to stop and take off my shoe. That little pebble, it wasn't a big deal. It doesn't bother me. But then the next day I had pain in this side. The rock was on the left. I had pain on my hip on the right side. Why? Because you ignored this part, you started to go with this way. And so instead of dealing with the issue here, you ignored it, and you're walking with the limp on the other side. You're in pain because you've ignored something so small and insignificant. It's not a big deal. We can just hide it. We can just put it underneath. We don't deal with it. And that pain, small as it is, becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is why it's important for us to see these things. Another thing that I wanted to see in this place is that God chose Jacob before he was born. God knew all the good and all the bad Jacob was going to do, and yet God chose him. That is amazing to know that God chose you knowing all the good and all the bad. Knowing all your mistakes and all your problems and all your mess. As Cheryl says, I'm a big mess. God knew that and God chose you. How do you know that you're chosen by God? The fact that you're here, the fact that you're listening, is that God saying, I want to do something with you. I want to use you for my glory. So in the next passage, we go to see Genesis chapter 25, verses 27 to 28. Sister Yuvia, can you read this?
So the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field. But Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game. But Rebekah, sorry, can you go back? It's okay. But Rebekah loved Jacob.
Amen. Okay, so here we see something. They're growing up. 2 boys are born. They're growing up. They're twins. One is older than the other. Can you go back, sister? Okay. It tells us that Esau, he's the older brother. He says he is a skillful hunter. Very important. And then it tells us that Jacob was a mild man. Right? So Jacob is a person that you can kind of ignore. He doesn't cause trouble. He's the good boy. He's dwelling among the tents. He's the quiet one. This could be the quiet sister, the one that doesn't get in trouble, not the loud one. She's just always in the corner reading books, watching TV, doesn't make a mess. The good girl, so to speak, or the good boy, so to speak. And Esau, he's the hunter. He's the one that's active. He's the one that's out there. And it tells us that the son, the dad, Esau, he says he loved Isaac. He loved Esau. Why? Because he ate his game. Now, I could just kind of imagine the conversation there. Oh, what'd you bring for us to eat today? Oh, man, I caught a giant doe. Oh, man. Way to go, Freddie. Man, I love it. I love it. This is my favorite food, Freddie. And Margie's sitting there listening to her dad praise Freddie for something that, and what about me? Well, what about me, Dad? Well, it's because Freddie, pobrecito Freddie. I got to build him up. Or Margie's my oldest. Or Natalia's the better one than the other one. She's the one that's always caring for me. And what happens is it tells us that then Rebekah loved Jacob. Now, I was thinking about this and I was thinking, this happens. When one parent pays attention to one, the other parent overcompensates and starts to pay attention to another. And instead of it being unity in the family, there becomes division and comparison and conflict. And instead of the family being united, the family becomes divided one with another. The family begins to hate each other. So much so, and this isn't in the passage, I didn't put it up there, but it's in Genesis 28, 6 through 9. It tells us that Esau competes with Jacob for wives. Later on in life, Jacob goes to, he lies to Esau. He steals his birthright. He lies to to Isaac. He lies to him about the birthright. There's competition. There's all these things that come out from this division in the family. Something so simple. A father praising his son for the good that he did, the other one seeing it and not feeling that affirmation, not feeling that praise, he's feeling broken and angry. So, next slide. Sister, here you go. After Jacob deceives his brother, after he deceives his father, he runs away. And he hasn't repented, he hasn't done anything, but I just wanted to highlight this little passage. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know." I wanted to highlight this passage because it's something important. Even though Jacob had lied and made mistakes and caused division, and instead of responding with good, he responded with evil. Even through all that, God has been watching his life. And as we start going into the lives of these men and women that God transformed, like Joseph and Moses and Hagar and all of these people, we're beginning to see that God was present in every moment of their lives, good or bad. And I say that because God is present in every moment of your life. He saw the injustice. He saw the pain. He saw how you responded. He saw everything. But he's been with you. Even now, he's with you. And it's a source of encouragement. Though you may not realize that God was there, God was there. God is there now, God was there in the past, and God will be there with you in the future. Okay? Let's go to the next slide, sister. This is the moment that he had where he finally, this is the place that I wanted us to get to. Genesis chapter 32, verses 24 to 26. It says, "Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn of day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip. The socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him, and he said, 'Let me go, for the day breaks.' But he said, 'I will not let you go unless you bless me.'" So what happens here? Who is this man? This man is a pre-incarnation. This is Jesus before the incarnation. And it's a picture of Jesus and God and Jacob wrestling. And Jacob is alone with God. Note that. That's very important. All of us are going to a point where we're going to have to get alone with God. Where we're going to have to wrestle with him. Now, this is important. Why does God wrestle all night with Jacob? Instead of just, we see in the passage, he touches his hip and his hip goes out of socket. He could have ended the fight instantly. Why did he wrestle with him? Why do you think? What's Jacob's typical response to problems? Run. He was a manipulator. He was a quiet one, but he would go around and whisper. He'd lie and deceive. He would run. He would hide. He would use whatever was in his pocket, whatever abilities he had to try to get out of the situation. He would run. And God was saying, look, you can't run. You can't run from your problems. You can't play the victim anymore. You can't blame it on somebody else. We got to talk about this. We got to face this out. We got to go head to head right now. Enough is enough. Many of us go through sicknesses. Many of us go through trials. Many of us go through different places where God brings us to that point of wrestling where he says, look, you've been doing this far too long. You've been running from your problems. You've been avoiding the issues. You keep avoiding that little pebble in your shoe, but that pebble has grown into a hip displacement, into your spine being out of line, and now it's affecting your mood. It's affecting your sleep. It's affecting your bowel movements. It's affecting all these issues in your life, all because of you avoiding the issues. And we need to face the issues. We cannot keep running. We cannot keep hiding. We got to come head to head with them. Next slide, sister, if you can. In the book From Broken Boy to Mended Man, Patrick Morley says, unprocessed pain. I'll read the quote to you because I got it out of place. But he says, there are millions of us. We carry around leftover pain from childhood wounds. As a result of this unprocessed pain, we act out in ways that damage our relationships. We're easily offended, fragile. We lash out, we withdraw. We're baffled by our behavior. Frankly, we're not even sure what normal behavior looks like. We all want to silence the voices of the past, but the way forward is shrouded in mystery. We look at our lives and can't help wondering, is this as good as it gets? We're terrified we might repeat the cycle with our own spouses and children rather than break it. Think about that. Think about unprocessed pain. You become a person who's easily offended. Get angry. Why? Fragile. You lash out or you withdraw. And I know that's a lot of our response. That's my response to a lot of these things. Next slide, sister. This is from the book. It's called The Body Keeps a Score. Very, very interesting book on dealing with trauma. Can you go back, sister? Back, not forward. One more. This was written in 2014, so this was 10 years ago, a little bit over 10 years ago. He says, this is Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. Doctor, okay? So he treated several veterans, several people who had post-traumatic stress disorders, children who have been molested, all these things. He says 1 in 5 in America, 1 in 5 children or people have been sexually molested. 1 in 5. There's more than 5 here. 1 in 5 has been beaten by a parent to the point of them leaving a mark. So at least one of us here has been bruised because of a parent. 1 in 3 couples engage in physical violence, meaning or pushing or shoving. 1 in 4 have grown up with alcoholic relatives. 1 in 4 of us here. 1 in 8 have witnessed their mother being beaten or hit. I mean, these are old statistics, but they're they're a reality. It says this. He says this in the book. those that have suffered traumatic experiences try to push it out of their minds, trying to act as if nothing happened and move on. We don't deal with it. We just cover it up. We ignore it. And the body, in this book, it's a massive book. I highly recommend it, or at least get the cliff notes. He says the body keeps a score. You lose track of sleep. You get unexpected pain. Your body feels it. Can't eat, or digestive problems. All of these things that are happening because we're not dealing with the problem. So go to the next slide, sister. Here is how God deals with us in that moment when they're wrestling. So he, speaking of Jesus or the angel of the Lord or the God, tells Jacob. He says, Jacob, as they're wrestling, hey, what's your name? What is that question? What's your name? What is he getting at? See, in the Jewish or the Hebrew mind, the name described the character of the person, the depth, the core of the being. He's saying, let's, deep down, Lluvia, who are you? Deep down, Arturo, who are you? Deep down, Juan, who are you? Don't tell me your profession. Don't tell me your money you have in your account. Don't tell me all those things. Who are you really, deep down? Jacob answers, my name is Jacob. The name Jacob means deceiver, supplanter, someone who deceives. And so God responds and says, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. Israel means prince of God, or means one who wrestles with God and man and prevails. Why? He says, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed. Right? He says, look, you've learned that the way to deal with the issues is not to run, is not to ignore, is not to manipulate. You've learned that the way to deal with issues, with pain, with trauma, with things that have happened in your life is to come to me and be honest and open. Be as real as possible. Be raw with me. Bring it to me. I can change you. So Jacob then says, well, tell me your name, I pray. And God responds and says, why is that you ask about my name? And he blessed them there. What does this mean? Here in this little passage is God's way of saying, okay, now that you've opened up to me, now we can have a real relationship. Now I can be the one that takes over. The Bible tells us, leave the wrath to God. Leave God the vengeance, right? We lay our problems to him and he'll take control of it. He'll do what he needs to do. We're now stepping out of the way and allowing God to take care of those issues. Jesus told them in Matthew chapter 7, he says, man, some of you don't know me. Some of you come to me and you say, Lord, in your name we did this. In your name we cast out demons. In your name we prophesied. We spoke in tongues. We did all these great things. And Jesus says, I never knew you. You did everything for me, but you never opened up to me. You never showed me the real you. And so how can I have intimate relationship? How can I show you that I'm the healer? How can I show you that I'm the one that can restore you if you've never opened up to me? If you've never let me in? That's where the blessing is. That's where the blessing is. Now, next slide, sister. How do we do this? How do we open up? The manliest man who ever walked on the face of the earth was not Arturo and is not Juan and is not Freddy. It's me. No, just kidding. Jesus. Jesus was the manliest man. And he was open with his emotions. He got angry. He cried. He felt pain. He felt fear. He was open with his emotions. But there was one moment when he was suffering unjustly, the righteous one for the unrighteous. He was suffering the most traumatic experience any man has ever faced. Both spiritually, physically, psychologically, emotionally, the worst experience. Abandoned by God, abandoned by man, abandoned, taking the sins of the whole world on the cross. Do you remember the first words that came out of his mouth? Anyone? I'll say it in Hebrew, see if you know it. Or Greek. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Anybody know what that means? My God, why have you forsaken me? Those words come from Psalm 22. Psalm 22 is a psalm of lament. What is lament? Biblical lament is us, and the Psalms really help through this. Biblical lament is us bringing all our mess to God. It's not complaining. I love how this phrase says it, right? Biblical lament is not complaining that goes nowhere. It's the people of God planting seeds of hope in the soil of exasperation and despair, expecting the Lord to come through in the end. That's lament, is bringing all your mess, everything, and putting it to God. Lord, look, here's some examples. And we'll finish quickly with this. Next slide, sister. And this is the New Living Translation. It's a more thought-for-thought translation, so it's really good, especially for these songs of lament. Go back, sister, please. You went too fast. So Psalm 10:1. Sister Yuga, can you read that one?
O Lord, why do you stand so far away? Why do you hide when I am in trouble?
You see what he's feeling there? God, where are you? Next one, Psalm 13, verses 1 through 2. Sister Yuga.
O Lord, how will you forget me? Forever? How long will you look the other way? How long must I struggle with anguish in my soul, with sorrow in my heart every day?
Anyone ever felt like that? God, have you forgotten about me? How long? Forever? How long will you look the other way when all these things that are happening, I'm crying out to you, I'm struggling with anguish in my soul, with sorrow in my heart. Where are you, God? Where are you? Look at this one, Psalm 73, verses 12 to 14. Sister, can you read it?
Look at these wicked people, enjoying a life of ease while their riches multiply. Did I keep my heart pure for nothing? Did I keep myself innocent for no reason? I get nothing but trouble all day long. Every morning brings me pain.
Any of you ever said those words? I have. God, how come these artists, these people, they get on stage, they blaspheme your name, they rape and violate women, and they get paid billions and billions of dollars. And here I am like a fool, coming, fasting, praying, sacrificing, giving up my job, giving up everything for you. Where is my reward? It's not fair. How come the other people who don't serve you, who don't sacrifice to you, how come they get healed and I don't? How come I still have... Is that pretty raw? Is that pretty real? And that's what God is inviting us to. His heart, he actually tells them in Jeremiah, he says, man, the problem that I have is that the priest or nobody else, he says, when they had a problem, they didn't come to me, and as one author says, they didn't get in my face. They didn't come and say, God, where are you? What are you doing? And he wants us to come with our pain, with our brokenness, the pains of the past. Look, to you it may seem like it's not a big deal. But honestly, all of us have pain. All of us have anger in our hearts. All of us have things that we have felt from when we were kids that we've grown up with them and we still have those pebbles in our shoes. And here's the last thing. This is the encouraging part. Hebrews chapter 4, verses 14 to 16 tells us this passage. Seeing then that we have a great high priest who passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God. All right, Jesus, our high priest, the one who represents us. He says he went through the heavens. Let us hold our confession, our faith. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weakness, He understands your struggle. He felt those struggles. He felt abandoned by God. He felt injustice. He felt a raw deal. He felt all those things. The Bible tells us that he left his riches and became poor so that you may become rich. And some of us don't even take advantage of that. Some of us don't even thank God for what he did. We just complain and moan and all those things instead of bringing it to him and saying, God. And he says, but I love this, was in all points tempted and yet without sin. He understands all of your problems. And he tells us this, put it in bold and in big letters. Therefore, Freddie, Cheryl, Juan, Arturo, Natalia, Margie, let's come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Brothers and sisters, God wants you to bring all of the pain. Man, one of the pains that I had, to me now looking back looks dumb. But I was shamed as a kid growing up because we were poor. But for years, when I grew up, I had to dress in the best clothes and name brand car, name brand clothes, name brand whatever, the best that I could afford. Why? Because I carried this shame of, I was poor growing up, so I don't want to be the poor kid anymore. And it may seem like something simple, something insignificant. My dad playfully would call me dummy. Burro, the proper word that he would use. Ándale, quítate, apúrate, burro. No seas burro. But the repetition of that word in my heart created a feeling of, man, I suck at everything I do. I'm worthless. And I had to prove to him that I could be something better, that I'm smarter than everybody else. And it may seem like small little things, but we've never dealt with them. And God says, no. We're coming to a point where we need to deal with them, because if not, it's going to go from one generation to another generation to another generation. Sorry I took a little bit longer, but is there anything that any of you feel, Pastor, I want to share, God spoke to me, or something I need to get off my chest, or